Rebecca and I were talking, and we kind of had this idea come up where we were discussing what makes a good executive sponsor for an implementation project. So if you're implementing software, what does the key what are the key responsibilities of an executive sponsor for this? And we've had a lot of amazing clients and some great executive sponsors. So we kind of wanted to highlight two versions of that: a hands-on executive sponsor and a more hands-off, laid-back executive sponsor.
Well, I think it's probably important to phrase what is an executive sponsor, because that may not be common terminology for everyone. So like an executive sponsor is going to be kind of like a C-level person at the company that's, responsible for the project. They may or may not be involved. We'll kind of talk about this on a day-to-day basis, but they're the C-level executive that's signing off and supporting the decision to go with the new software. So we identify that in all of our projects. But yeah, so what have you seen, Rebecca, on the project side that's kind of been very successful, we'll say, from the executive sponsor? Because everyone does that role differently, I think. And
like Selena said, it kind of seems like folks kind of fall into one of two camps. So there are people who are very hands-off. They're the executive sponsor in name and are the ultimate decision makers and responsible for the success of the project from the client side, but maybe we don't interact with them directly very much. We assume that they're communicating with their team and decisions are being escalated to that person on their side. But so that's kind of a hands-off folks. Those projects are successful when that type of executive sponsor entrusts the people on their team to make decisions and sort of empowers them. And it seems like the other type is the much more hands-on. Those are folks who are maybe in lots more meetings and we see their faces and hear their voices and talk with them a lot more. But even those folks really still are entrusting their team members and entrusting their subject matter experts and their project managers to to help implement a great system and work with us.
In the scenario where the executive sponsor is on most of the calls or even just some of the calls, how do they keep themselves out of the way, so to speak, of their people, right? Because you're saying they still trust their team. I'm assuming that means they're not micromanaging all things on the project, right?
Yeah, definitely. It seems like they're more air traffic controllers a little bit, so they're maybe refocusing conversations if people tend to get off track, because that can happen because a lot of the meetings that we have are ideas flying all over the place, and how do we do this, and questions about that. So those successful executive sponsors that are even involved in meetings, they're maybe redirecting or helping to stay focused on what the priorities are for the project as a whole or the topic for the day, but still really letting their people do what their people do best and let them do their jobs and provide input.
So I learned some Gen Z slang on this. They're letting their employees cook. Have you heard this?
Oh, yeah.
Let them cook. So executive sponsors out there, let your employees cook.
Let your employees cook. No matter what kind of executive sponsor you are, if you're more hands-off or more hands-on, still got to let your people cook.
Yeah, gotta let them cook.
That was fantastic. Thank y'all for sharing. I've learned a lot.
A little tidbit for today.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Yeah, I think, neither is necessarily better or worse. They're just different types of executive sponsors on the project. But yeah, to y'all's point, as long as, I don't think I can say it, but as long as their employees are able to cook, then I think the project will be successful. So that's awesome.